From the heart of the kitchen and the shadows of a mystery, it's time for Dinner and a Mystery, the only show where the stew is simmering, and so is the suspicion. So get ready to cook up a cozy dinner and hear a chilling tale. Now here is your host, Vickie.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to Dinner and a Mystery. Tonight we're going to make perfectly pumpkin pancakes. This is by Nicole at the Salty Marshmallow. And, dinner for breakfast or breakfast for dinner, those are some of my favorite ways to shake things up. I actually really love having dinner for breakfast, which is opposite of what we're doing. We're doing breakfast for dinner. But tonight, it's going to take you just 10 minutes to put this together and 10 minutes cook time, and you're good to go. Okay, so let's grab 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, measure that with your heart, 1 cup of pumpkin puree, 2 large eggs, and last 4 tablespoons of butter melted. All right, we're going to preheat our skillet or our griddle. So just put it on a medium heat. You don't want it to get too hot, but you want to preheat it so that it is getting hot. And in a large bowl, you want to whisk together your flour, your baking powder, your salt, your cinnamon, ginger, and nutmeg. So all the good fall season spices. And if there are any that you don't like, just don't add them. I don't think that it's going to be that big of a deal. This is just the throw together recipe, but I think that you could modify it to your flavor, your taste. In a separate bowl, you want to whisk with a K, together both the sugars, the vanilla extract, the pumpkin puree, the eggs, the melted butter, and the milk. Okay, here's where you're going to get messy. We're going to pour the wet ingredients over the dry ingredients and whisk them to combine. The batter is going to be lumpy, but don't overmix it. Now you're going to set it aside for 5 minutes. Butter your griddle, so you're going to have some extra pats of butter on hand. Butter it up or spray some nonstick cooking spray. Whatever you desire, just, to keep it from sticking. And you're going to pour 1/3 cup of the batter for each pancake onto the griddle. And you're going to cook it for about 4 minutes per side. Just brown them on each side before you flip them. And then you can serve it up with butter or caramel, which is my favorite. I love to get the caramel that you squeeze out of the bottle. You can use whipped cream, nuts, candy, whatever you like, chocolate, whatever your favorite toppings are. So be sure and tell me on Instagram what are your favorite toppings, or TikTok. Vickie Dreamin' on just about everything. So look for Vickie Dreamin' on your Instagram, on your TikTok, and on YouTube. And now for the mystery portion of our podcast. Tonight, we'll be talking about the movie Halloween and if it's based on a true story. I know as a kid, this movie really scared me. I never thought, is this a true story? I just thought, oh, that is really, really scary. And we're going to find out tonight. Is it a true story? I don't know. So, according to the article by Nicole Brise in October of 2024, she says that Halloween is considered one of the most influential horror films of all time, and the movie's filmmakers, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, based the story on real-life experiences. So let's look back at the script. It tells the story of a babysitter, Laurie Strode, who was played by Jamie Lee Curtis in the movie. She's stalked by an evil killer, Micheal Myers, who has recently escaped from a psychiatric hospital. It only took about 3 weeks to write, Hill revealed in a 2003 documentary, Halloween, A Cut Above the Rest. The idea was you couldn't kill evil. At least that's what she told The Guardian in 2002. We went back to the old idea of Sayham, that Halloween was the night when all the souls are let out to wreak havoc on the living, and then came up with a story about the most evil kid who ever lived. When it came to details, Hill drew upon her background to create the film's fictional town, which Carpenter took inspiration from a boy he met in college to create the character of Myers. So here's everything to know about the real stories that inspired Halloween. The first question they ask is Micheal Myers a real person? Micheal Myers was named after a real person that Carpenter and Hill both knew. As Hill explained in a 2003 documentary, Halloween, A Cut Above the Rest, the real-life Myers was the distributor for the filmmakers' Assault on Precinct 13. Micheal Myers pushed it into the London Film Festival. I felt I owed him that, so it was my tribute, Carpenter said in the documentary. When it came to Myers' persona, the screenwriter drew inspiration from several sources, including a patient he met while visiting a psychiatric hospital while he was a student at Western Kentucky University. We visited the most serious patients, Carpenter said in Halloween, A Cut Above. There was this kid, he must have been 12 or 13, and he literally had this look. It's a really evil stare. It was unsettling to me, and it was like the creepiest thing I've ever seen. So Carpenter described the look further through the character of Sam Loomis. Donald says in the first film, I met this 6-year-old boy, now he's speaking as Sam Loomis, with this blank, pale, emotionless face, the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. As for Myers' inhuman strength, Carpenter says his resilience is intentional and reminiscent of Westworld's Yul Brynner, who plays a killer robot that's incapable of destruction. That also sounds kind of like Terminator, right? Okay, so Carpenter says, I thought it might be a good idea to raise this Micheal Myers character up to a mythic status. Make him human, yes, but almost like a force that will never stop, that can't be denied. Carpenter told Deadline in 2014, Micheal Myers is part person, part supernatural force. Now this story I knew, but I find it really interesting. Who is Micheal Myers' mask modeled after? So the mask, the infamous hockey mask with the no eyes, black eyes, before it was associated with the monster known as the Shape, it was designed to embody Star Trek's Captain Kirk, as played by William Shatner. Some people don't know that, but I find that really interesting. According to Carpenter, a production designer, Tommy Lee Wallace, found the accessory at a mask shop on Hollywood Boulevard. There were 2 options. One was a clown mask, which was a better mask, he told Deadline in 2014. Wallace revealed in 2003 in the documentary A Cut Above the Rest that the Captain Kirk mask didn't really look like anybody, despite its branding and making it better suited to the filmmaker's preference for something pale and featureless. Characteristics Carpenter said he found in the 1960 French film Eyes Without a Face. This girl had a burned face, so she wore this mask, and it was really creepy because it was featureless and immobile, except for her eyes, he explained. Wallace ultimately cut the holes of the Shatner mask to be larger, tore the eyebrows off, poofed the hair so that it looked demented and strange, and removed the sideburns. Then he spray painted the mask white, transforming it into the Micheal Myers face. So it started out William Shatner, and it turned into Micheal Myers. So that's what creativity will get you. Okay, our next question is, who inspired the babysitter, Laurie Strode, the character that was played by Jamie Lee Curtis? And likely it came from a real-life person. Carpenter named the film's heroine after an ex-girlfriend. So, wow, that's kind of cool. So Strode's background and personality, however, were more likely influenced by Hill. I was a babysitter, and I knew what it was like to be all of those characters, she said in the 2003 documentary. So I really contributed the girl dialogue. Like Strode, Hill also grew up in a small town. Halloween's fictional setting in Haddonfield, Illinois, was modeled after Hill's hometown, a borough of Haddonfield, New Jersey. I really had a sense of what small town was like, Hill said in the documentary. Wow, there's a few of us that know that. So if you take babysitting and it's at night and it's a small town and people keep their doors closed at night and she's going around banging on doors, yelling for help, and nobody's answering their door, it got kind of scary in the movie. So where is the real Micheal Myers house? Carpenter said the Myers home in the film was based on a small town folklore. Most small towns have a kind of haunted house story, a one of a kind or another. That's at least what teenagers like to tell and like to believe. So there's always that house down the street that somebody was killed in, and that. So I know even in my hometown, my small town, there was a road that was really scary, and people would tell stories about it, and it got passed down generation to generation. So my kids will hear it, their kids will probably hear it, and so on. So that's really where that was based on. But the exterior of the home where Myers lived is a real place, though it's not in the Midwest, but in South Pasadena, California. That's where the old house is that the kids are all out in front, and that's where we pull back. It's right off of Sunset Boulevard, Carpenter confirmed in the film's documentary. So can you visit the Myers house? The South Pasadena home where Halloween was filmed still exists today, albeit in a different location. According to Florida and Georgia-based realty company Watson Realty Corp., the home was relocated from its 707 Meridian Avenue address to 1000 Mission Street in 1987 to make way for a hospital. While the home was saved from being bulldozed, the company reports that it was converted from a private residence into office spaces in the process and does not allow visitors to come inside. The nearby hedge on Montrose Avenue in South Pasadena, where Micheal first reveals himself, is still a popular visitor attraction, per NBC. So what happened to the boy who inspired the character of Micheal Myers? Though it's unclear what exactly happened to the patient Carpenter met in college, the fate of the fictional Micheal Myers was ultimately sealed in the most recent Halloween sequel, 2022's Halloween Ends, which, spoiler alert, so turn it off now if you don't want to know. But this was back in 2022, so it'll be okay, just spoiler. All right. Myers is killed by Strode and her granddaughter before his body is placed in an industrial-sized shredder. And as Carpenter explained in a cut above, the character was never meant to have such a definitive narrative. This guy is a human, but he's not. He's more than that. He's not exactly supernatural, but maybe he is. Who knows how he got that way? It makes the ending more surprising. So that's the end of the People magazine article. A lot of the research that I did for this said that it was not based on real life experiences, but it looks like it was based on some things that went on in the director's life day to day, growing up, things like that. So, being from a small town, I can relate to some of the things that they said, like the house that was scary. Really, anybody that grew up in a small town, you can kind of understand where that imaginative story would come from. The stories get passed down, and then they grow and they change, and it's kind of like a game of telephone with scary stories. One that I haven't been to see, but I would love to go see, is the lights that are in Marfa, and then also the lights of Saratoga, which is on Bragg Road in Hardin County. It was once a Santa Fe railroad track back in the early 1900s, and when the tracks were removed, it left everything dark and desolate, and so that stretch of road, they have all kinds of stories about, one of the stories, I'll just give you real quick because why not? So a railway brakeman was decapitated in an accident on this stretch of the Saratoga line. His ghost now walks the old tracks swinging a lantern as he endlessly searches for his lost head. So you go out there, you can see that lantern swinging and the lights coming at you. And I know that I live close enough that I could go and see it, but I also don't like to see scary stuff. I don't like to be scared. But it's Halloween, and I wanted to put these stories out there and just talk a little bit about them. So what do you think? When you saw Halloween, were you scared to babysit? Did it make you scared to go out at night? You definitely need to know your neighbors, so when you knock on the door, you have somebody answer it because they know who you are. They're not going to open the door to strangers. So generation now, make sure that you know your neighbors so you have somebody to go to in an emergency. There are real emergencies out there. This is coming from something that I noticed in real life, like lately. People are in these neighborhoods, these nice neighborhoods, and they don't know their neighbors that well. So it's really good to get to know your neighbors so that somebody will answer the door should you need help. Okay, so that's the end of the podcast. Be sure to sleep tight, and whatever you do, don't leave the back door unlocked. This has been Dinner and a Mystery. Stay safe, stay curious, and stay creeped out. Good night, all.